Hello and welcome to our very first self-care success workshop. I am very excited. If this is your first time attending any of my workshops, my name is Dr. Stembile Malatini, and I am the founder of Self-Care Success Workshops, as well as the Empowerment Academy, which is bringing you these workshops. So I want to welcome you to the Self-Care Success Workshops. I'm excited because we are starting in February. And as you know, February is all about celebrating love. But in celebration of love, I find myself every year learning something about not only the love that I share with loved ones, but also self-love. And with that comes self-care. So I decided to have the first workshop as an ultimate self-love and self-care tips workshops, because self-care and self-love, I have noticed and recognized and also known that self-care and self-love are the foundation of healthy relationships. Isn't that interesting that when we are celebrating, love, that's when many people start to really focus on what's missing, what's working, and what's not, working. Well, people are supposed to do that, right? To really take a tally of what's working and what's not working, but many don't. But, it is a time that people realize and recognize that, whoops, I don't think that I've been loving myself much. I don't think that we've been loving ourselves or each other much. So that's why this, workshop will be very exciting, very intriguing, very interesting. So here's what I want to suggest to you. If you're watching this as a replay, or if you're here with me right now, please take out a notebook or a pile of pieces of paper that you can write on, because as we talk, I will be asking you some self-reflection questions. I will be asking you to write things down. And just as the norm, you might want to do this with every workshop that we'll be doing, that you bring yourself a nice notebook, a pen and paper, or a journal, or somewhere that you can write your own self-reflection or your own answers to these workshops. That way, again, they can work even better for you. So I want to suggest that, because as we go through, you will hear things that just makes you go like Oprah Winfrey saying, You just get to think more, about different things as you listen to the workshops. So take some time, get yourself about an hour and a half time that you just put aside, so that it's all about self-love and self-care. Because at the end of this, I have tips that I share with you like you've never heard them before. So I also encourage you that if you listen for probably 30 minutes and just pause somewhere, write down in your notebook to say, okay, I paused at 20 minutes and 22 seconds. That way, when you come back to the training again, start at 22, 20 seconds, and then go all the way until you get to the end. So what am I saying? Part of self-care, again, is not even forcing yourself to be there for the whole one and a half hours and, attend it or watch it, at the same time. We record all these trainings, so they're always going to be available as recordings for you to go through again, over and over again. So whether you're here attending in person, I also want to encourage you to go back and rewatch this replay. And as you go through, write down the things that you missed whilst you were here live, or the things that you missed when you watched it the first time. But this will be the ultimate self-love and self-care tips workshops. So with that, I'm going to take myself off video so that we can really have 100% focus on the workshop itself. All right, are you ready? Let's go. All right. As I said, the ultimate self-love and self-care tips, the foundation of healthy relationships. If this is again the first time that you're watching any of my trainings, or you're here with me, my website is www.drstemi.com. If you want to get in touch with me, it's drstem14@gmail.com. So, what we will cover in this workshop, we're going to talk about what is self-care, the types of self-care. We're also going to talk about physical self-care, emotional self-care, relational self-care, mental self-care, and most of all, what is self-love. We'll talk about the coping skills and creating your self-care plan. So, what is self-care? Self-care is described in many ways, but here's my short descriptions of what self-care is. It's accepting yourself. It's showing yourself care and attention. It's making time to do things that fulfill you, that relax you, that replenish you. It's making time to breathe. Many of us are busy, 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 busy bees that we don't have time to just breathe and realize or remember that we too need self-love as well as self-care, as we'll be talking about. So, what does self-love look like? Well, self-love is more about feelings. So, what you begin to feel is you have feelings of greater inner peace. You have feelings of harmony. You have feelings of joy. You also feel rested. Your body just tells you when you're really taking time to love yourself. You feel attractive. You feel handsome. You feel good enough. And you just feel like, okay, I'm in control. So self love is more about how you feel. So, why is self love important? I want you in your notebook. Remember how I said some of the questions, I'll be asking you the questions. Why is self love important? Jot down the things that you think are the reasons why self love is important. So, self love is essential for our overall well being, our overall mental and emotional health. Mental and emotional health, it's closely linked to how we feel overall, right? So many people will say, well, I'll take care of my mental and emotional health when I have time. So the problem is when you have time might never come, right? But the importance is when we have a healthy sense of self-love, we are more likely to have a higher self-esteem, which is mental, a positive self-image, which is emotional health, and a greater sense of self-acceptance. So what does this mean? It means a reduced level of stress, anxiety, depression with our mental health, which have to do with mental health. So it's important for us to focus on self-love so that we can have a stable mental and emotional health. Our relationships, when we have self-love, we tend to accept ourselves. We are better equipped to form and maintain healthy relationships with others when we are in touch with loving ourselves and also in touch with having a relationship with ourselves. The other benefit is physical health. Self-love can also have a positive impact on our physical health. When we prioritize self-care and make choices that honor our well-being, such as getting enough sleep, exercising, and eating healthy, we are more likely to experience better physical outcomes and also better physical health. The next importance is confidence and motivation. Self-love can boost our confidence and motivation, which then leads us to having a greater sense of empowerment, motivation. We get more inspired to do more. We get more inspired to achieve more. Even those, that set goals and don't realize, well, I don't even understand what happens because I set goals, but then I rarely meet or fulfill those goals. when you have self-love and self-confidence and motivation, most likely the way that you will tell that it's working is when you're seeing yourself checking off or crossing off your goals, your dreams, your desires. It means self-love is at work. The next benefit is resilience. Cultivating self-love can increase or enhance our resilience in the face of adversity. Resilience meaning the ability to bounce back, the ability to do better, to take care of ourselves when things fall apart. So self-love will allow us to be able to have the courage, the strength to bounce back, from challenges and setbacks, and to view the failures or the things that we cannot do not as an end to all means, but as a way of growth. When we fail, when we fall, we find what strength, what growth that situation has brought us through resilience. So overall, self-love plays a crucial role in shaping our overall well-being, influencing how we think, how we feel, and how we behave in several aspects of our lives. And also it involves, us building self-compassion, self-care, self-acceptance. All of those things come when we focus on self-love. And that's, why it's important for us to focus on self-love. Self-love requires you to hear, to understand, to soothe yourself, cry when you need to cry, laugh when you need to laugh, play when you need to play, and mostly it requires you to understand your own personal needs first. So I have this, quote that I created as I was, coming up with this training. Loving yourself is a skill that you have to master if you want to live a happy life and be in true loving relationships. Let me say that again. Loving yourself is a skill that you have to master if you want to live a happy life and be in true loving relationships. As you hear this quote or as you read it, is it making sense to you? Yes or no, if you're with me here in the chat room. I see yeses, 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 yes. It means we have to figure out ways that we can love ourselves, know who we are, and also be able to show other people how to best love us, and also how to be in true loving relationships with us. Many times we require people to be in love with us. We require people to show us love. And then when they look at us or they look at you and they say, wait a minute, he or she is asking me to do all of these things to show them, show him or her in these words of affirmation, but I don't see that in him or herself. So that's what this quote brings out, to say, what are you saying to yourself? What are you doing for yourself that shows in other, people, and, show them how to be in a true loving relationship with you? How are you defining it? And then we go into what is self-care. Remember when we were talking about self-love? Self-love is more about feelings. Now, when we talk about self-care, this is about action. It's the act. Self-care is the act. It's giving yourself some TLC, a big old hug that you give yourself as a way to say, oh, thank you for being awesome. Thank you for giving me the strength to be me and to show up every day as myself. Showing yourself that you're worthy of care and attention is self-care. Self-love is about feelings, and self-care is about action. Why is self-care important? Just as we did in self-love, why is self-care important to you? Well, I came up with the following of why self-care is important. It's important, again, as we described, for self-love, for our overall well-being. But this time, it's about the activities that we deliberately do to take care of ourselves, of our mental, emotional, and physical health. The things that we do in action, for us to be able to actively take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. So the benefits are stress reduction. Because when you engage in self-care activities such as meditation, exercise that many people hate to do or hear about, maybe spending time in nature, those things can help you reduce stress. Stress can have a significant negative impact on our overall well-being, as many of you know. So finding ways to manage and reduce stress through self-care is crucial. It's not just important, it's crucial. Improved mental health, self-care practices can contribute to improved mental health. And, it's almost like we mentioned as well in self-love, because this is done by providing ourselves with enough time to rest, recharge, and reflect. Taking time for yourself can help reduce symptoms of anxiety, depression, and overall, it improves your mental health. You also get improved physical health with self-care. As I mentioned, engaging in physical activity, eating well, getting enough sleep are all important components that improve physical health. Increased productivity. And I don't just mean productivity at work. I mean productivity in your personal life, in your, business life, in your careers, in your relationships. All of that get increased. You start to see good results in everything that you're doing overall when you focus on self-care. So, when we are better, feeling better, when we have, taken a sweat, broken a sweat in exercising, walking, or doing something that just breaks the sweat. Maybe it's a massage that you're doing and getting a nice massage, or something that just releases, that stress. It does increase the energy that is in you. Therefore, it increases the results that you get. And that's where we get the increased productivity. It also helps improve your relationships and your connections that you have in your life. Because then engaging in self-care helps us become more in tune with our own needs and emotions. That makes us better able to communicate with others, communicate with ourselves, connect with ourselves, and connect with other people. Increase self-worth and self-esteem. Everybody talks about, engaging in activities that build self-esteem and self-worth. And many of us actually are beginning to learn throughout the last few years that I got to take care of myself. And self-care is going to be number one thing that's going to build my self-worth and self-esteem. So engaging in self-care activities will send powerful messages to ourselves that we are worthy of care and attention, that we are worthy of making ourselves priority and making ourselves number one in whatever that we are doing. And the last one is, I love this one, it prevents burnout. Self-care is important because it prevents burnout. Regular self-care can help prevent burnout, which is an improvement, again, of the overall well-being of our emotional, physical, and mental, wellness, because we are beginning to notice that we are exhausted. Emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion is at its highest peak right now, whilst we are still dealing with the remnants of COVID and also dealing with the changes. Some people changed and they're working at home permanently, but then home is so much distraction and brings in a whole lot of other distractions at home. So then it's difficult to focus at work, and they would rather have gone into the office. And then we have people that are back in the office that are like, why am I here? I would rather be at my home because I was being more productive and I was doing better at home. So the burnout rate is very high, but mostly the emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion, caused by this excessive and prolonged stress is at its highest peaks as well. So taking time for self-care can help prevent burnout and help us to maintain a balance in our lives. Now, how does self-care and self-love affect relationships? Here's what happens when individuals prioritize self-love and self-care, they are better equipped to engage in healthy, balanced, and fulfilling relationships. What do I mean? When you take care of yourself, you are not quick to anger. You are not quick to, get frustrated. You're also not quick to want to figure out a different connection with someone else on the outside when you already have someone on the inside that you're having a difficulty, connecting with sometimes, or even communicating with sometimes. So it is important for us to prioritize self-love and self-care. That way we can feel in control of our lives, our joy, our happiness, the love that we give out, and the love that we receive. All of those are in effect in relationships that can happen when we take care of ourselves. So many people say, well, I don't think that would help me if I'm taking care of myself and my partner is not taking care of themselves. How is that going to help our relationships? Well, remember now that relationships are about two people. So many a time when one is feeling better and doing better, we tend to find that it is much easier for couples that have, at least one person taking care of themselves and being able to be strong mentally, physically, emotionally, that they are better off, in that instance, and, in a better stance to communicate and connect better when one is at least taking care of themselves. But when we have both of them not taking care of themselves, getting burnout, getting frustrated, getting irritated, finances are low, and nobody else is doing anything to improve the finances in their relationships, I mean, everything just begins to just tumble down. So self-love and self-care do affect relationships, and it's very important that when we focus on ourselves, the gift is not only for us, it's also a gift to our families, relationships, siblings, children, grandchildren. You give yourself a gift, but it's a ripple effect that affects everybody else when you're feeling good and doing good. So now let's talk about self-love and how, it affects relationships in a deeper sense. So here are the benefits, to the relationship. You get improved emotional well-being. It encourages healthy boundaries and communication. Well, the question is, do you have boundaries right now in your relationship? What are the boundaries? Again, let me see a yes or a no in the chat. Do you have boundaries? What are those boundaries in your relationship? Take your time. You can always finish writing, the answers to this in your own time as well. Do you have boundaries for communication boundaries? And what are those boundaries? You see, self-love encourages individuals to set and maintain healthy boundaries so that one, you can recognize them and communicate them, but you can also help others recognize how to communicate and connect with you when you have boundaries. And when you know what those boundaries are, it's easier for you to communicate them. And it's also easier for you to live by example, where when they are crossed, you do not have a problem advising or communicating that. There's also another benefit to your relationship, which is increased empathy and compassion. It means self-love can lead to a deeper understanding and acceptance of not only your life and your relationship, but it gives a deeper understanding and acceptance of yourself, which now can in turn, enhance or increase the capacity that you have to connect with others, to be empathetic with others, to understand where others are coming from. Because remember now, in relationships, not always are we going to be in agreement with our partners or the people that we are in relationships with, whether it's a boss, it's a sibling, it's a spouse, a child. We're not always going to see eye to eye. But when you are practicing self-care and self-love, it helps you to be able to take a step back and listen. Have you ever heard people, or maybe even yourself, have you ever said, people just don't listen? I've heard that many a time. People are like, people just don't listen. Well, I think that sometimes the responsibility is also on us. I need to also make time to listen. I also need to make time to be empathetic. I also need to make time to be understanding. And in order to do that, I've got to take care of myself, and I have to be able to open myself up to that. But if I'm always expecting other people to understand me, to hear me out, to change and accommodate where I am and my standards, the way that I want to be heard, but it's not reciprocal, it doesn't work right. Practicing self-love and self-care can help, also you to become more self-reliant and less dependent or validating support from other people, which means it reduces codependency. Many people rely on what people say, what people do in order for things to work well in their life. So when you're practicing self-love and self-care, you realize that the first person that you will have to rely on or depend on is you. And how much can you feed yourself and give yourself what it is that you demand? If the answer is, oh my goodness, I'm too demanding on me, chances are you probably are too demanding on other people that are in your life as well. The fifth benefit is it improved positive role modeling. So here's what happens when you prioritize self-care and self-love, right? That serves as positive, as a positive influence that comes upon you, right? You begin to feel better. You begin to want better. You expect better from people, which means, guess what? Spending your energy on those things that are negative, that bring you negative feelings, negative vibes, it becomes like, no, no, thank you. I do not want and will not spend my time in that. You also begin to be a person that people look up to because they realize that you are a person that is not, stressed all the time, complaining all the time, negative vibes all the time. I don't know about you. Have you noticed that you always get drawn to people that have a positive vibe? Because when somebody's positive, when they're more relaxed and, they're pleasant to be around, you want to be around them more. But if they're the ones that are just like, downers and they're always complaining, miserable, and just, it's like, oh, do I have to go home to that person? Do I have to talk to them? Do I have to answer their phone? It's almost like, no, you don't want to do that, right? Because then as a result of your self-love and self-care and taking care of yourself, you begin to have healthier conflict resolution in a moment. You don't avoid the conflict, but you have healthier ways of resolving whatever conflicts arise. Because then I grew up being one of those people that said, I don't like to fight and I don't like to have conflicts. So even in job interviews, I would go in interviews and people said, tell me about your strength. And that was one of my strengths. I don't like conflict, so I'm always avoiding conflict. I just don't get involved and I don't want to be a part of it. And then I realized years later that nobody's immune to conflict. It's going to come. I don't care how nice you are, how nice things are, or how good things are. Oh, conflict is going to come. But the thing about it is not to ignore it. It's not to negate it. It's not to just sweep it under the rug. It's about coming up with a healthier conflict resolutions and also understanding that conflict resolution does not mean that you are winning all the time, that people are going to be on your side all the time. Conflict resolution, especially healthier conflict resolutions, means I am open. Sometimes I'll be wrong, and it's okay. And sometimes I'll just settle to agree to disagree, and that's okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just a healthier conflict resolutions. Is this making sense so far? Is it making sense, the tying in of how we have to focus on self-love and self-care, because there are many benefits in our personal lives, as we talked about here, in relationships. And those relationships are not just with your spouse, but even with your children, with the bosses, with subordinates, with other colleagues. It does apply that when we take care of ourselves, through self-love and self-care, we have improved, relationships overall, improved results, productivity overall, when we do focus on self-love and self-care. The other thing that, many of us literally might not equate it to self-care and self-love is negative self-talk. And what is negative self-talk? It's any inner dialogue that you have with yourself that takes the form of self-criticism. It's accepting the opinions in your mind as true and repeating them back to yourself out loud in your mind over and over. And yet they are debilitating, talks that might be going through, demeaning talks that might be going through. Negative self-talk is diminishing dialogue that has the potential to make you think less of yourself. It's that dialogue, that self-talk, it's those thoughts, those feelings that come to our minds and we start feeling them in our hearts. But then we know that me continuing to think on this path is not helping me to make good decisions, to achieve my goals, to succeed in whatever that I am doing, right? So that becomes now something that needs your attention. Negative talk is, in general, these are feelings that can affect every aspect of our lives. That means negative self-talk is, one way of scaring ourselves. It's one way of, giving us bad vibes, taking out our energy when we continuously focus on, negative self-talk. So what are some examples of negative self-talk? Before I even get onto these examples that I got, I want in the chat room to just, at least write down some of the negative self-talk that you have said to yourself or that you think people say all the time. I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be wanted or loved. They don't like me. This is bad for me. Okay. So as you can see, these are patterns of just thoughts, that come in, and sometimes they come in the form of, feelings that, that we have. So here are some of the negative, self-talk in relationships that I also came up with. Negative self-talk can take many forms. So it can sound like this here. In a grounded way, people can say, I'm not good at this. So maybe I should avoid attempting it, for my own personal safety, because I don't think I'm good at this. Some people can say, I can never do anything right. I don't deserve to be happy. I'll fail anyways. So what's the point of trying? That looks really hard. Even if I tried, I'd never be able to do it. No one in my family has ever done it, and I know that, hey, I'm not going to be an exception. Well, they tell me that culturally, this is not the norm. Many people, from my culture don't do it this way. So even if I tried, they already ruled us out anyway. So I don't think it's anything that I can do. So negative self-talk can bring about feelings that can affect every aspect of your life, including relationships. So remember, everything is connected to how your life, ultimately works out for you, or it becomes stressful, right? And many a time I say to people, what are you saying to yourself? And that becomes the big question of the day. What am I saying to myself? So in your books, I want you to write that statement down. What am I saying to myself? Because many a time it ends up being that. What am I saying to myself? What am I telling myself? What am I saying this means? Because everything is open to interpretation, but in this instance, it's what you interpret everything to mean, or for what people are saying. What are the consequences of negative self-talk? We mentioned this one before: increased stress in personal and professional life. It reduces your ability or capacity to be successful. It also increases limited thinking, which means the more you tell yourself you cannot do something, the more that you're going to believe it. And in the sense of the law of attraction, people say you attract that which you think about or even speak about all the time. So if you're just not even saying it, but you're thinking it, you also could be attracting it into your life. So what happens? You get to see, feel, and experience more of that. And that's why we really encourage you to question what you're saying to yourself and what you're thinking and what this means, because then when you do that, it's a gentle reminder that you are in control of what you think and how you respond to situations that happen in your life. One of the other consequences is perfectionism. You begin to really believe that great is not as good as perfect. And this is a big challenge for especially people that are in management, that are in leadership, or aspiring management and leaders. This becomes a problem, because then when you're looking at perfectionism, you're wanting everybody that is under you, that to be operating at this level of perfectionism. It means that great is not good enough, but perfect. And what that perfect means is how you define that perfect. So I always say when I'm doing leadership coaching, with leaders, for them to take a look at what their expectations are, to take a look at their employees' expectations, to have the employees write their expectations, and then to compare those expectations, because people are working under one department and have, a whole total perspective of how to look at how to work together to be cohesive team in order to, be more productive and to meet the goals of the team, but then they're not even thinking on the same page. So it's very important to write the list of those things, especially if you're in leadership or aspiring leader. And even if you're just a regular, Joe, if you suggest that and have people write down their expectations and then leadership write their expectations as well, and see if you can have a meeting to bridge the gap. That way everybody can get on the same page, right? That will reduce the frustration of perfectionism and also individuality, where people are supposed to be working as a team or being cohesive in a team manner. All right. Now, if you have your journal or your binder wherever you're writing, I want you to turn to a clean page. If you pre-registered for this, you should have gotten a quick self-care checkup. It's a checklist with everything that I'm going to go through right here. You can just pull that out and, circle on that. But if you don't have it, then I'm going to ask if you can pull up a blank piece of paper. And from that first piece of paper, please write physical self-care. And then right below it, write the numbers 1 through 12. It's when you wish you had that music. Dun, 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 dun. And then at the top, you see that I have the numbers 5, which means you agree that that is done frequently, or you do that frequently. If you put a 4, it means occasionally, on occasion. And then if you put 3, it means rarely. And then number 2 is never. And number 1 is it never occurred to me. So rate these according to your best, a recollection of these situations, and let's see how you check up. So for number 1, eating regular breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Do you do that frequently, occasionally, rarely, never, or it never occurs to me? I hope nobody has a 1, because hopefully everybody gets to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Number 2 is eat healthy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exercise. Get a regular medical care for prevention. I should have also put, we'll put that as number 13, so don't worry. Number 13, might as well go to number 13 right now before I forget, because I just thought about it. Get regular mental health care for prevention. Because I believe that, especially here in the United States, we have opportunities of going to the doctor every year at the beginning of the year and getting a medical checkup. I think we also should have a mental checkup. And it's as easy as calling a therapist or a coach and just say, I'm just coming in for a mental checkup or a, mental health assessment or evaluation. And then you get to sit there and do that. We also now doing those, virtually via telephone or even video, where you can see us via video. And as a licensed, professional myself, I do those with people where they just call in, we do a session just for mental health care prevention. Number 5, get medical care when needed. Do you do that often, frequently, occasionally, rare, never, or it never occurs to you that you take medical care when needed? How about taking time off when needed? How often are you doing that? How often do you get massages? Frequently, occasionally, rarely, never, never occurred. Dance, swim, walk, run, play sports, or do something other than physical activity that is fun. I love to dance. I love to listen to music whilst I'm walking. So for me, this one would be a big 5. Number 9 is something that people still shy away from talking about, but it's a much needed activity, taking time to be sexual with yourself or with a partner that is safely. Get enough sleep. How often do you do that? Wear clothes that you like. Take day trips or mini vacations. And remember number 13, where we said get regular mental health care prevention. That would be number 13. And then on another clean paper, write emotional self-care. A clean page, write emotional self-care. Number 1, spending time with others whose company that you enjoy. Do you do that frequently? 5, occasionally. 4, 3, rarely. 2, never. And 1, it never occurred to me. Stay in contact with important people in your life. How often are you doing that? Giving yourself affirmations, which are positive statements that you say to yourself, as well as praising yourself, loving yourself. Do you do that on a frequent basis? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reading or rereading favorite books, reviewing or re-reviewing favorite movies. How often do you do that? I do that quite frequently, actually. Number 5, identify comforting activities, objects, and people. How often do you do that? That's identifying relationships and places, and then seek them out. Those things that replenish you, that gives you energy, that makes you happy. How often do you follow that? Allowing yourself to cry. Do you allow yourself frequently, occasionally, rarely, never, or it never occurred to me, which means it doesn't happen? Finding things that make you laugh, whether it's talking to a person that makes you laugh, it's watching comedy, it's reading a book that makes you laugh, it's walking and just listening to good music that makes you laugh. How often do you find things that make you laugh? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Expressing your outrage, your disagreement, which means having a voice in social actions, letters, donations, whether it's a march or a protest. How often do you speak up in a positive, solution-focused way where you are coming out, you're outraged, but then you also have some solutions that you are expressing? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And one of my favorites, playing with children. It reminds me of the Bible where there's that verse that says, be childlike. They didn't lie. Because when you are in a childlike state of mind, you are open to being playful. You are open to experimenting. You are open to flunking and failing. And it's like, oh, well, didn't work. So your inquisitive, curious mind as a child is like, okay, we got to figure out another way. This one is not working. Whereas as adults, it's like, oh boy, here I am. I'm going to be embarrassed and people are going to be laughing at me and they're going to be talking about me. And, so I would rather have a childlike, outlook on life. And in order to do that, we have to go back to the basics, play with the children. So do you frequently play with children? Occasionally, rarely, never, it never occurred to me. Whenever I do this one, many people will say, how can I play with children when I don't even have siblings and my parents don't have any other children? Oh, I got you. You're right. You're right. It, seems impossible if you don't have them right in that vicinity. But I want to encourage you to think outside the box with everything that we're going to be talking about. I want you to have that open mind that says, I want to try something new, right? So thinking outside the box means, excuse me, you might volunteer, where children are so that you can get an opportunity to play with the children. And sometimes we say, oh, having an animal, a small animal, is just like having a baby. Why not? You're taking care of another breathing mammal. So, yep, it could be similar. There would be similarities, but make time to play with the children. And if you don't have any children that are in the vicinity or volunteer programs or places, church that you can visit, then by certainly find animals that you can play with, because either way, it will help bring out your own playfulness. Any other things that you do to take care of your emotional self-care that I didn't listen here, just write other and then put in, whatever it is that you do. And don't forget to rate it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. On another clean page, let's do psychological self-care. And again, write the numbers 1 through 10, as you can see here. And all you're going to do is write the numbers 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 next to each number. So when it comes to number 1, we talk about making time for self-reflection. Is that a 5 for you that you frequently do it? Occasionally, rarely, maybe never, or it never occurred to me. Number 2, having your own personal psychotherapist. And a psychotherapist is just a therapist, a mental health therapist that is licensed. I mean, it's not just, but I'm just saying it is a licensed therapist, because sometimes when we put in this, psychotherapist word and, behavioral analyst and all of these other titles, people are like, well, what do you mean? What kind of, therapist is that? So psychosocial therapist, a psychotherapist is a therapist, that is a licensed mental health professional that can provide therapy for you with different approaches that will work with you. And when you do that, you'll be able to determine for you and your therapist what best approaches work better for you. Making time to write in a journal. How often are you doing that? Reading literature that is unrelated to school, other literature from the news, that just keep you well informed. Letting others know different aspects of you. Are you an open person that actually people can get to know the real you? Is that something that comes frequently, occasionally, rarely, never, or it never occurred to you? I always laugh with this one because then, I'm thinking, well, I don't even have to tell people, because after writing over 45 books, people can literally read my mind and see how I think and, how I deal with situations. People can literally read it right there in the books. So I don't have to repeat it all the time, right? So noticing your inner experience, listen to your thoughts, your judgments, your beliefs, your attitudes and feelings. How often do you notice your inner experience? Engaging your intelligence in a new area, that is going to the museum, history exhibits, sports event, theater performance, and so on. How often do you engage in something like that? That just helps boost again your self-care. Practicing receiving from others, that's a big one. Why? Because we are so used to giving than receiving. And you'll be surprised how many people are very uncomfortable receiving from others rather than them giving. Took me a while, but I learned the hardest lesson. That it is a good to give and to receive. It's a good feeling to give and to receive as well. So once I realized that it's also okay to give and receive, because then culturally, I'm originally from Zimbabwe. I forgot if I say that at the beginning, but culturally from Zimbabwe, I mean, we have these values that we are taught, to be nice, to be respectful, and to do good and to do right things. So sometimes, and to give. So sometimes when you start receiving, it's almost like, what? Am I supposed to receive this or not? Because I'm the one that's supposed to help this so and so and so and so. Newsflash, we all need self-care. We all need loving. We all need people to look out for us. We all need that pampering as well. So practice receiving from others. Taking time to be curious, to learn and to learn more and to learn new things is key. But how often are you doing it where you're taking time to attend courses like we're doing today? Do you do that frequently, occasionally, rarely, never, it's never okay to me, which is a 1. And then number 10, saying no to extra responsibilities to people that you feel take advantage of you. It's very important to say no. I actually have a whole training on the power of saying no that I'll be sharing with you, because it's a whole extra understanding and deeper understanding of why we say no. What are the benefits of saying no? What are the disadvantages of saying no? I mean, and mostly, how do we begin to make it okay to say no? Because that becomes the biggest challenge for many people as well, when they don't know that it's okay to say no. And how do they know that? And how do they express that no to loved ones? So now, instead of us taking all of that, which you were expecting for me to say, okay, tally up the 5s and tally up the 10s and tally up, I want you to take a look at all of those things that have a 3 and below, so that you can now begin to list the self-care habits, that you're using now to manage stress and stay happy, right? But you've got to list all of those things that have a 3, or just, circle them, those that have a 3 or less, because that's how we are going to put together a healthy self-care plan, right? So out of those, I need you to list the habits that you would like to practice. The habits that you would like to practice. If in those questions you probably had a 1, or, which means it never occurs to me, on loving yourself first, or thinking about you so that you can do something for yourself, maybe once a week or twice a week. Maybe that could be the one thing that you want to write down. What are those things that you want to do in order to improve your self-care habits? I usually say write at least two so that you don't overwhelm yourself, but at least two. And once you identify those two things that you want to start off with first, right? I want you to identify the obstacles, the things that can get in the way of you practicing or doing those self-care choices that you put together. One of the examples of their, obstacles could be, I don't practice yoga because I don't practice yoga regularly because I don't have the time. Is that a reason or is that an excuse? It makes a big difference when you write all the reasons or all the obstacles and you go back and, besides each one, write reason or excuse. A reason is a really good reason that, you certainly can maintain. But if it's something that you think, you know what, I really don't think this is too big of a deal. I can make time and let's see where I can make time. Then now that becomes an excuse. I don't have time becomes an excuse. And once it's become an excuse, it's not to put you down, but it's to help you understand that you have control over changing that one. Because then you can change and make time. And making time and changing means you are prioritizing self-care. And when you prioritize something, I don't know about you, it means I'm serious and I'm not going to not make time for that which is supposed to enhance my whole well-being. I have to do something about it. So that's where I want you to get with that, right? Two things that you want to start, doing as part of your self-care. Write down at least maybe 3 or 4 reasons which are obstacles to you. And besides each of those, I want you to write whether it's a reason or an excuse. Is it a reason for you not doing what you're supposed to do, or it's an excuse? And if it's an excuse, then find ways that you can get rid of that excuse and be able to do what it is that you desire, practicing. What solutions can you come up with to address the obstacles that you listed? That's one of the ways that you can do that. You could free up some time by watching less TV or waking up earlier. That's one way of doing that. You could enlist someone. Let's say one of those is exercising. You could enlist someone that can call you, walk with you if they live close by, or they can talk. I have my sisters in Boston. I live in Florida. We actually will call each other and talk on the phone as we are walking with my sisters that are in Boston, and we are walking and talking. Thank God we're in the same time zone, so we are Eastern Standard Time, so we do get to have that advantage and walk at the same time. If they were in California or I was in California, they would have been alert, because then there's like 4 or 5 hours difference. Okay. Here's also some sentences that I would like for you to write down. Making a commitment and promising yourself that you're going to do something makes a big difference. So once you write the 2 things that you want to start doing on your self-care, I want you to write, today I commit to, and write, the 2 things, let's say. But do it one at a time. Today I commit to walking. I want to do this because, write your answer. Maybe you are diabetic like me. I'm diabetic. So I have to exercise. I've got to feel better. I've got to do better. So it's always one of those that I want to continue to stay healthy, to keep healthy, so that my diabetes doesn't flare up and I don't have complications of diabetes. I will accomplish this by, and if that word was exercise, then maybe the accomplishing will come by walking, will come by swimming. If you're in an area where you have a swimming pool and you can go swimming, maybe biking, and it's something that you know what, let me go biking. So be also cognizant of time, because then if you have a packed schedule and you want to also put this self-care plan in play, and instead of scheduling yourself for half an hour, You schedule yourself for an hour, and that hour takes you into another appointment, or it narrows your number of hours that you have to work with for that day. Then certainly go with the 30 minutes, the lower time, because 30 minutes nap, 30 minutes walking, 30 minutes of doing something will make a big difference in the long run. Because remember, now it's about persistency and consistency, continuing to do it over and over and over again. Commitment is key. Persistence, consistency, and prioritizing, they are also key areas that you need to focus on. Remember now that you matter and you can do it. You can do whatever you put your mind to. It's possible. You can do it. Now we're going to do a marathon. How is it going? I know I've been talking and just going on and on and on. How's it going? Did that make sense? You might have to repeat that one again, where you go through and, list the two things that you want, list the reasons why you need to focus on it, because the stronger your why, the more, enthusiastic you're going to be about following through with those two things that you pick. So in this section, I'm going to go through real quick. I've got quite a few suggestions that I wanted to share with you of self-care ideas. So you don't have to write all of these down. I just suggest that you come back here and watch this video again, listen to it again, share it if you need to share it, so that you're not the only one that is keeping your self-care and self-love together. All right. Number 1, get up 15 minutes earlier in the morning. Because for some reason, my mother says, if you start doing everything that you need to start off the day early enough, right? You're energetic and you tend to do more and you tend to accomplish more when you do it early enough. So I'm a morning person. It works out perfect for me to wake up early and start my day early, because then by the time noon comes and everybody else is dragging their feet, I'm already on my lunch break and I'm fine because I started early. Prepare for the morning the evening before. Put out the clothes that you plan to wear. Pack up your books, notes, and everything the morning or the evening before. Prepare for the morning the evening before. I even prepare a month before, because I also do trainings where I'm either doing virtual trainings or in-person trainings, wellness trainings, leadership trainings, team building trainings that I do. So if I'm given, a time frame of a month from now, a week from now, I'm one that will most likely prepare for that a week out, or a month out, because that helps me to keep me sane. I cannot stand being rushed and doing last minute things. So see what works for you. But I want to suggest that you prepare the night before, week before, weekend before. Just prepare in advance. Don't rely on your memory. Write down appointment times. Remember how I was talking about mental, physical, emotional exhaustion? That is true. So then it tends to affect the memory. Lying is stressful. When you lie, you have to keep up with the lies. You have to remember what you lied about, and you have to keep up with those lies. So if you're doing something that is going to lead you to be dishonest, then avoid doing it. Don't lie. Don't focus on that one day. It's very frustrating. And make duplicates of all keys. Carry a duplicate car key in your wallet, apart from your key ring, your house key. Carry it with you in your wallet as well. That way, or now they have those key boxes that we can just program, in there. But just make sure that you have duplicates. Practice preventative maintenance of your car, your appliances, your home, your relationships, your health, and mental health. As I was telling, and I always say this, you probably have heard this, from me before, that listen, make a phone call and say, listen, I don't think I have any mental problems, but I just want to do a check-in and just see, what is going on in my life. Is just preventative maintenance, and you'll be amazed at what you talk about or what you accomplish from that one session. Be prepared to wait. Be prepared to wait. Patience is one of those lessons that has taken me 58 years to learn. Patient, be prepared to wait. Procrastination is stressful. So whatever you want to do tomorrow, do it today. Whatever you want to do today, do it right now and get it over and done with. Check, boom, done. Plan ahead. Don't let the gas tank drop below a quarter full, because then before you know it, it's red and you're stuck on the road somewhere. So, plan ahead and do things, especially with the gas. Some people are really, really bad and they wait until it's all gone. Well, here's a quick story, right? My mom and dad were really funny. My dad would take my mom's car and he would drive it until empty and then parks it, then takes his own car and he's gone. Then she comes out and she wants to go. She's like, wait a minute, I filled my gas tank. What happened to it? And she would do that over and over again. And I'm like, when are you going to learn that, he doesn't have time to stop and put gas. He's always taking your car. But you know what? Do it anyway, because then it's very frustrating to come out and feel that way. But what were we talking about? Don't put up with things that, work improperly. If your alarm clock, your wallet, your shoelaces, whatever, if they are a nuisance and they're not working properly for you, get rid of them. Do not continue doing things just because. But if they're not working for you, please discontinue. That's a big stressor off you. Allow extra 15 minutes to get to appointments. I can't tell you, even when I fly and I go to airports and stuff, I'm one of those that will get there 2-3 hours before. And people are like, why are you going so early? I don't want to be stuck in those lines. I don't want to be stuck, in a place where I'm now rushing and I'm out of breath and, no, I want nice and easy as much as I can. So, to get to appointments, to get to places. So allow yourself extra 15 minutes to get to appointments. How do I do that? If I have an 8:30 appointment, in my book, it's going to say 8 o'clock. And, circle the big 8 o'clock. And then, little thing, then I'll write the actual time there. But the big circle is my target time of making sure that I'm ready. And, I'm waiting on 8:30 to come, but I'm ready. And I don't want to be rushed, and I'm having my cup of tea, my water, whatever. So, see how you can work it out. Limit the amount of caffeine in your diet. Always establish plan B or contingency plan, just in case plan. If for some reason, something doesn't happen, what are you going to do? If for some reason this doesn't work, what are you going to do? Always have a contingency plan. Relax your standards. Sometimes we are set in our own ways and we want things to work a certain way, but you know what? Life doesn't work that way. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. So relax your standards and also, remind yourself that, the world will not come to an end if it's not done one way, or maybe if it's not done your way, right? For every one thing that goes wrong, there are probably 10, 50, or 100 things that go right. So count the things that are going right. Look at the things that are going right and focus more on the things that are going right. Ask questions, taking a few moments to repeat the directions of where you want to go, to ask someone what to expect, what they expect of you, or what they will provide you or give you. Ask questions, be knowledgeable. Do not, be afraid to tell people, well, but my expectation was this, or this is what I was expecting, and see whether they can or cannot provide you with what it is that you desire. Ask questions also comes under where people settle, and they settle because they didn't ask questions or they didn't ask the right questions. And then you end up saying, I should have asked questions. So make it a point to ask questions. Say no to extra project, extra activities, extra invitations, no matter how good they sound, no matter how much sometimes you want to be involved. Listen to your body. Look at your schedule. Look at the things that you are responsible for, that you're supposed to be doing. Say yes to you first, and then say yes to those things that are utterly, utterly important and key for you to attend to or to do. But otherwise, get used to saying no. Why is it difficult for people to say no? Because we don't want to deal with how other people react to our saying no. So get used to people reacting because they're going to react. They're going to not like you when you say no. But it's not about you. It's about what they have to work through. So you need to say no when you need to say no, and then allow the other people to throw fits and, deal with it in their own way. And you be okay with having said no and giving yourself the time that you need, the self-care that you need, the self-love that you need. Want to take a long bath, shower, meditate, or read without interruption? Yes, that is great, great self-care. Allow yourself to disconnect from anything that will prevent you from having those nice long baths, showers, meditation, just quiet time, or maybe even just watching something that is just relaxing for yourself. Disconnect from everything and make time for those things that replenish you and relax you. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I cannot say it any other way. Just simplify. Make friends with non-warriors. If you want anxiety and worry, then associate yourself with people that bring anxiety and worry. There are certain people that just worry a lot, that do things, say things that just gives you anxiety and worry. You won't see me talking to you, and you won't see me being around you if you bring me anxiety or worry, or I notice that you are a warrior. I won't be around you. Well, I mean, in my personal life, because in my real work, that's exactly the work that I do. Support those that are anxious, that are worried, that are depressed, that are going through. That's what I do for work. So when I'm in my spare time, I tend to avoid those kind of situations like a plague. All right. Buy a set of ear plugs. Oh, did I just jump over to that? No. Make friends with non-warriors. Get up and stretch periodically. I forgot about that one. Get up and stretch, exercise. But most of us are sitting down now for hours and hours. Take time and make time to get up, stretch, and make sure that you are relaxed and walking and stretching out and everything. Because if we sit for prolonged, long hours, many people are beginning to complain about headaches, back aches, muscle aches, and that's because you're not getting up and stretching. Buy a set of earplugs. If you need to find a quiet place and you cannot find it, sometimes you can just pop in some earplugs and that will take care of the noise. Get enough sleep. If necessary, use an alarm clock to remind yourself to go to bed, not just to wake you up, but to go to bed, and schedule bedtime if you have to, so that literally you get used to and disciplined to having time to relax and getting, enough sleep. Create order out of chaos. And with this, I mean, see if you can make time to organize your home, your workspace, so that you always know where things are. And when you're finished using something, return it to its original place. There is something that happens that is good when your mind is not cluttered and things are where they're supposed to be. And then during stressful situations, people tend to breathe in shallow breaths. In stressful situations, people tend to forget to breathe. Make time to breathe. Be mindful of your breathing. I also have trainings that are coming up in our self-care success workshops on mindfulness and also how you can begin being mindful of your breathing. So look out for those trainings. They are coming soon as well. write your thoughts and feelings down. This pens down to journaling. Again, we also have a training that's coming up on journaling. And, journaling is a great, great way of arranging and putting your thoughts together. But most of all, it's a great release of those emotions, feelings that need to come out of our heads, our minds, our hearts. So writing your thoughts and feelings down is a very, very helpful self-care idea. Make time to relax. I swear I have patients that just say, I don't even know how to relax, doc. I don't know what relaxing means, doc. They really are serious that they don't even know what that looks like or how they could even start doing that. With everything, we have to be intentional. With everything, we have to prioritize. Because once again, if it's a priority, if it's a must do, if it's something that I need to do, then guess what? I will make time for it. Many people have found themselves finding time or making time to relax when they are on their sick bed and they're sick and the body is saying, oops, guess I can't move no more. Or the mind is now depressed and anxious and now they can't think or they're getting anxious about everything. Then they make time to relax. Please, please. The consequences of not relaxing are worse than you making time to relax and not bragging about, oh, I don't even know what relaxing is. I don't think it's something that we should brag about. It's something that we should be sad about because we need to make time to relax. And then protect yourself against any feared situations or events. Let's say you have a presentation that you have to give at work and it's a big deal, or a project that you're doing. If you work in project, it's a big deal. Rather than getting afraid of it and saying, I don't even know where to start with this project, day after day, and then you procrastinate, be able to protect yourself against failure. Because then the more that you're afraid of it, the more that you don't tackle it and start it or seek help from other people to help you out, delegate, get a task force. Even at home, with the things at home, you can get people to help you out in the house, to make arrangements. So you don't have to do everything yourself, right? And it doesn't have to be overwhelming all the time. Trust other people that they are there to help. But the reason why they let you do it is because you always do it and you never ask for help. And then when you do ask for help, you still don't let go. You're still hands on, mind on, and everything in there. So try to also make it a habit that when you do ask for the help, you're hands off and you go with what the other people or person has done. That way, they can be so willing to help you the next time or to say yes to helping you the next time. Otherwise, some people will always be stressed out, frustrated, and feeling alone because they themselves never take the time to say, what part am I playing in this being alone? And sometimes it could be that you just don't think anybody else can do it or can do it the way that you do it. I'm seeing some yeses in the chat. Some people are putting yes in there. I know, right? Okay, right. They're putting yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. Yep. That's other people. All right. And then find activities that relax you. Some people, when I ask what activities relax you, they literally cannot tell me what activities they can do to relax them. They're like, I don't know. Did I say that this was going to be the ultimate list of ideas? Yes, yes, yes. All right, we're still going with the ultimate ideas. Talk it out. Discussing your problems with a trusted friend, with a counselor, a coach is really going to help you to get clear, to also clear your mind of confusion that can really clutter your mind. So it is a great form of decluttering when you talk to, talk it out with a trusted person, right? Select an environment that is in line with your personal needs and desires. It means if you're going to get a job, if you're going to do something, right, that is in line with you, whatever your desire is and your personal needs. Take something that you know it's good for you and it's something that you want to do, because many a time people are settling for these in-home jobs when they know that, you know what, I'm not a person that likes to be scooped in the four walls. I like to be driving outside and then go and be in an environment where it's open area. And that's very critical for you to reassess where you are and what you're doing, because today more than ever, emotional, mental, exhaustion is really, really on the rise, and burnout. People are really burning out. So look at those things and environments that you're in. If you don't like people that gossip, don't be around people that gossip. Socialize with those that do not, like talking about other people or just gossiping. You just make a choice. So I guess what I'm asking you to do is reevaluate your life, reevaluate the influence of the people that are around you, and then spend less time with those that are not valuable or that don't bring, value to your life. Learn to live one day at a time. Every day, do something you really love and enjoy. Add an ounce of love to everything that you do. Take a hot bath or a hot shower. Maybe a cool one during the summer to relieve tension. Do something for somebody. Volunteering, you've heard that. People talking about volunteering, it helps very well. Focus on understanding rather than on being understood. Focus on loving rather than on being loved. Do something that will improve your appearance. Because, hey, when you look better, you feel better, right? Schedule me time. Schedule a realistic daytime, because then when you have a realistic daytime, me time, you tend to just pamper yourself and it's just a day for you. I will say this over and over again. Me time is important. And become more flexible. I think we talked about that. Some things are worth not doing perfectly, and some issues you just have to let go and compromise. You don't have to win all the time, right? Eliminate destructive self-talk. We talked about this earlier on as well, that, watch what you say to yourself. Watch what messages that you're sending to yourself. Use your weekend time as a time for change of pace. So try not to bring work into your weekends. Try to do work during work time and work days. And I know that's, for many people, a big challenge, but that's also going to help you to become more disciplined when you are disciplining yourself in that sense. Because I'm telling you, at the end of the day, the amount of, stress that brings when you're working 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, it takes a toll. It takes a toll. Worry about the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. You've heard about this one, right? It means, it's just another way of saying take care of today's, things that they have to be taken care of, because the yesterdays and tomorrows, they'll take care of themselves, but take care of the here and now. The today, those are the pennies. The now, what do I need to do now? What do I need to do today, right? But what I did yesterday, I can't help it. And what I'll do tomorrow, I don't know. I'll wait until tomorrow. But today is my number one priority, okay? Do one thing at a time. When you're with someone, be with that person and with no one else. That business of, oh, I've got 2, 3 boyfriends, 2, 3 girlfriends, it just takes a toll on your mind. It takes a toll on your energy. It takes a toll on you. So have one person and one energy that you deal with. That's a lot, but that's more helpful. Allow yourself time every day for privacy, for quiet and introspection. You have to allow yourself that time and give yourself that time. You have to teach your partner to say, I'm going to need 30 minutes, and I also will allow you to take whatever time that you do, or even an hour, and then, take that time. If you're with a spouse and children, maybe taking that time means you go to bed right after you get the children in bed, and you say to yourself, let me also take a nap at that time, or let me go to bed early too at that time, or maybe wake up a little earlier. Kids wake up at 6, you wake up at 5, and give yourself that extra hour. But work it out with a spouse or with your significant other to make sure that you allow yourself time for privacy, quiet, and introspection. If you're faced with an unpleasant task, do it in the day to get it over with, so that you don't have to have anxiety sleeping over it and wondering, oh my goodness, I got this to do tomorrow, right? Learn to delegate. And I put responsibly there, because then there are certain people that do not want to delegate, do not want other people to feel like they're bothering them, do not want to bother other people, or do not trust other people to do stuff, right? And then there's some people that over delegate. they want everybody to do everything for them. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? So either way, find a balance and delegate responsibly. Don't forget to take a lunch break. So try not to work all the time. Take a lunch break, schedule a coffee break, schedule a water break, and schedule just a bathroom break. Schedule those. Do not wait until, oh my goodness, I forgot I wanted to go to the bathroom like 10 hours ago, but the calls kept coming. Schedule them. And when you're scheduling your meetings, try to schedule them 10 minutes after or 10 minutes before. That way you get yourself a bathroom break as much as you can. And it is what it is. Be that kind of person that they say, ooh, they're always on 55 minutes or 50-minute meetings or 45-minute meetings, because then you know what, it's not about the time. Sometimes it's about the production, being productive in our meetings that matters. So I could be more productive and come up with a whole lot of things in 15-minute meeting than I can in an hour, 2 hours of us just, shooting the breeze. And yet I gotta go to the bathroom, or I gotta have some water, or I gotta have some coffee. So schedule those things on your schedule and do make time to do it. And then count to 1,000. Okay, forget about counting 0 to 10. Count to 1,000 before you say anything that matters. That means by the time that you start counting to 100, 200, sometimes it doesn't matter. You don't have to say it. You don't have to focus your energy on it. So instead of 1 to 10, before you say something, count to 1,000, because that's going to give you enough time to really think about, is it worth it? Do I want to go there? And what are the consequences? And what if it goes left? Do I won't have the energy to deal with it? You see, there's so much that you can think about. So count to 1,000 before you say anything. Have a forgiving view of events and people. Accept what you do and accept what you do not have control over. The serenity prayer is my go-to. I share that with everybody that I talk to. Go to the serenity prayer. There are things that you have to accept that you have control over, and there are things that you have to accept that you do not have control over. And then finally, have an optimistic view of the world. Believe that most people are doing the best that they can. And then bonus, write down 5 things for which you are thankful for. Write down 5 things for which you are thankful for. And whilst you're at that, also write 5 things that you've been successful at. 5 things that you've been successful at. And I'm doing that for you. That never give yourself credit. That's always hard on yourself. That always want to go harder without taking the time to acknowledge and embrace yourself for having done everything that you have done. Yay! We're coming to an end. Finally, this was a long one. I know it was a long one, but I needed to share all of this because then it's one of those that I will be expecting people to have replay after replay after replay, because it's really big that we focus on self-care and self-love. So I wanted to share the tips, the ultimate tips of self-care and self-love. So with that, we're going to end with promises to self. And we're going to say this together. Wherever you are right there, you can say this with me. I promise myself that I will accept my strengths as well as my flaws. I promise myself that I will speak lovingly to myself. I promise myself that I will always keep in mind that I cannot control everything. I promise myself that I will choose my battles wisely. I promise myself that I will forget the pains of the past, but remember their lessons. I promise myself that I will maintain a stable peace of mind. I promise myself that I will not compromise my values for anything. I'm going to add, and anybody. I promise myself that I will learn to live in the moment. I promise myself that I will let go of the things that are holding me back. I promise myself that I will stay motivated to pursue my innermost dreams and strong passions. I promise myself that I will always see the fun and fulfillment in every activity that I partake in. I promise myself that my life will get better every day and every year. If anything, go back to these promises to self and say these over and over again, as they apply to everything that is you. They apply to self-love, they apply to self-care. Any questions? Well, I find that once we do deeper trainings like this, many people have got a whole lot of things that are stirred up in them and they want to talk about them. So I am available for individual coaching or counseling. If you are thinking, you know what, you said a lot of stuff that really got me thinking and rolling, but I got to talk to you about this, please reach out. If you are a member and you are part of our members, you know that your counseling and coaching packages are very discounted. So you will get those at a very discounted package. For those of you that are not aware of our membership, we do have a membership that for $97 a month, you will be able to get these trainings, at every week that we do the trainings, or every time that we do the trainings, you get the replays of the trainings at no cost to you. And then also the individual coaching and counseling packages that we have for you, depending on whether you want it weekly or you want them, twice a month. It will depend on what you need. Then talk to us about it, and I will be able to share those packages with you. Gentle reminder before you go, take time today to love yourself. Why? Because you deserve it. Remember, self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. And then finally, an empty tank will take you exactly nowhere. So take time to refuel. Self-care and self-love are a priority. Once again, my name is Dr. Stem. And as I always say, be encouraged. I will see you in the next self-care workshops. If you want to know the schedule of our workshops and what topics that we have next, please visit our website at www.drstemy.com. I'll see you next time.